think they should be opening actually now, as after a global sell-off, European and Asian markets plummeting around the world. And we've been looking at futures, and they were more than 1,000 points down. Rahel Solomon, we are so lucky to have you here, but you bring us bad news.
Yes, I bring bad news today, at least so far. We'll see how the markets open, and we'll get that pulled up just as soon as
Let's pull up the big board so we can see where things are right now, actually, because it's ugly.
There it is.
So we're still off, about 1,000 points for the Dow. So this is a continuation, and we'll see how the S&P and the tech-heavy NASDAQ are opening. I imagine probably not good, but this is a continuation from Friday, right? It's the new week, same old concerns that plagued the session on Friday. So on the one hand, you have that jobs report that came out, obviously weaker than expected, and you have some who say it's one jobs report, it's one data point. That does not necessarily make a trend. On the other, and this is where the market appears to be, there is a growing feeling that the weakening that we have already seen in the labor market is intensifying, but also maybe the Fed dropped the ball. Maybe they waited too long. We can actually pull up for you where the Fed funds rate has been, and you can see it's been in that 5% range for quite some time. Sort of adding to these concerns that maybe the Fed did too much. This is the unemployment rate, which we saw obviously jump in last Friday's.
So let me stop the propaganda right there. It's total bullshit. First of all, employment, people are totally bamboozled by employment rates. Employment rates have nothing to do with anything. Employment is not a leading indicator of market crashes, right? It's not a leading indicator of anything. It's just political propaganda. So it just looks good. So politicians and bureaucrats and people and the regular layman, it's something they can understand, right? Jobs, employment, something basic. You don't have to be that smart. If somebody say jobs, you got a job. Okay, jobs, your ears perk up, right? So you kind of understand, but you don't. So someone starts saying unemployment, jobs. Well, that's not why the market is crashing, right? The market is not. This is going to be This is a stock market collapse. You're down 1,000 points a day, 2 days in a row. Huge. I mean, just huge outflows. $3 trillion, $6 trillion in losses. As of today, just huge losses. But you know who's not losing? Guess who's not? Guess who's not losing? You want to guess? Let's take a look. So this is Lockheed Martin. So in case you live under a rock, what is Lockheed Martin? Well, Lockheed Martin is a defense contractor. I mean, they make planes and stuff, but bombs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're a defense contractor, right? Now, what happened on around July 23rd? Let's take a look. So around July, let's take a look. On July 23rd, the Israeli prime minister, right? The prime minister of the United States and Israel came to the United States, right? Around this time. Okay? And what happened when he came here? Well, when he left, as of today, the market is crashing, but whose stock is not crashing? Well, that would be Lockheed Martin, right? Their stock's not crashing. And not only is their stock not crashing, it's going up, and it's skyrocketed. So when the prime minister, he left right around the time he came, around the time the stock was going sideways at about in the high 400s, right? So around maybe 400 and let's say $60, right? And when he left, as soon as he left, the day he gave the speech, the stock skyrocketed. The Lockheed Martin stock skyrocketed, started skyrocketing, right, going parabolic. And so now it's up to about $530, right? So you got a nice ass jump you got almost, what is that, about 60. You got almost like, probably almost like a 80, 90, like a $80, $90 jump in the stock price. Thanks to the Prime Minister's speech. Now, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? When you see a Lockheed Martin stock skyrocket, start going parabolic like that. As soon as he gave the speech, you can see, you look at right before when the stock started going up, they announced his speech, he came, he gave the speech, and then the stock went to the price that it is today. Now, while the whole market around the world is cratering, whose stock is going up? Has skyrocketed, went up, and is steady and positioned to go higher? Oh, that would be Lockheed Martin. You don't think your politicians knew? So basically, when he came to the United States and told them, gave them the orders, when the Prime Minister of the United States came and gave his speech in the U.S. Congress, and then when the cameras went off, he explained to them what they were going to do for him and what he was going to do. He went back to Israel, and they began attacking high-level leaders in the military of Lebanon and the Gazan peacekeeping staff, right? The Gaza has a political bureau they're not in charge of the Hamas, so the representative who used to be the Prime Minister of Palestine. That's what they don't tell you. So this man, he wasn't just the Prime Minister. He wasn't just the lead head negotiator for Hamas. He was previously the Prime Minister of Palestine before he got voted out. You see, and then he went to work as a negotiator in the political bureau for Hamas, which is just another political, wing of the Palestinian government. Now, so they went and killed him in Tehran. They killed him pretty much at the inauguration of the Iranian president. So he left the inauguration of the Iranian president, went back to his quarters, and he was blown up. Israelis did that, and then the number one or the number two guy in Lebanon's military, they kills him, right? Now, that's what he told them that he was going to do, and that's why their stock went up as soon as he got there and told them that. And what did they do? They started going buying stock. And then they obviously told their friends and their friends' friends, and they all bought Lockheed Martin stock. So they made millions of dollars in profits, right, on the backs of the 100,000 dead people in Gaza, you see, and on the backs of the hundreds of thousands of people that are about to die, you see. Because what happened right after that? Oh, well, the warships, as that stock price went up, the warships from the United States started heading from the United States to Iran and to Lebanon and to Israel. The jets and the warships. See? So while the whole world market is collapsing, Lockheed Martin stock is going up. The politicians are profiting off of this, making millions and billions off of the stock price. You see? And you about to die. You see? As thousands of people die, right? People getting rich. And this actually is this predicted what was going to happen. I mean, if you would have looked at the Lockheed Martin stock price, and you would have looked at the fact that when, before it spiked and started, going parabolic, Netanyahu was, as soon as they announced basically he was coming, the price started going up. And when he got here and gave him the information and gave his orders, the Antichrist, right? The prime sinister. The stock skyrocketed, started skyrocketing, right? So basically insider trading, so then they could make money off of the fact that they knew what was going to happen. That people were going to buy defensive stocks. Defense, stocks once this thing got to going. And that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, it's totally corrupt system, right? Totally. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. And so you could have predicted what was going to happen. Now, what is this? They're telling you, oh, this is about a jobs report. So let me get back to that real quick for a wrap. Jobs have shit to do with anything. Well, how do we know that, right? I could be talking out of my ass. Well, if you go back to the biggest crash in the history of the world or whatever, right, United States, where the dollar collapsed, it was useless. Stock market collapsed, right? It was about 1939. What was it? How was unemployment? What was the structure? How was unemployment situated at that time? Was when it collapsed? Was unemployment high, indicating a collapse? Not at all. Unemployment was, unemployment was actually low. So there was a high rate of employment, but and then all of a sudden the bottom fell out of everything. So the employment levels had shit to do with what was about to happen. It told you nothing. It was not a leading indicator. Like if unemployment would have been high levels, like we got 25% unemployment in the United States, but the stock market is high. Well, you can say, well, man, I'm telling you, you look at these unemployment levels, the stock market is going to collapse. Well, that wasn't the case. People were employed at high levels. There was no, depression in employment. People had, jobs were plentiful. You see? The stimulus that was in the economy made jobs plentiful. So you had no idea what was about to happen. And what happened? The bottom dropped out of the whole world. The dollar totally collapsed to basically being worthless. But yet, today, you have people, the unemployment rate, the unemployment report caused this, the unemployment caused that. Employment rates don't have a goddamn thing to do with what's causing this problem. That's just the shit that they tell, people, low information people, so they can manipulate you. And because you don't read books on history and read articles on history or, watch documentaries. You're like, man, that shit's boring. I'm not watching that. So you have no idea what happened in 1939. Right? You don't even have any idea what happened in 2008 during the housing crisis, which I'm working on something. I'm writing a book on that. But so, yeah, unemployment is not a leading indicator. That bottom line, right? So, but what is a leading indicator is these goddamn defense stocks. You see, these defense contractors, which was a leading indicator. If you would have looked at that, you would have known that Netanyahu was about to start a war, World War III. That's what you would have known. If you would have looked at him, this Lockheed Martin stock, and you would have looked at the date, which you see that stock price spike, that was the date he was talking to the United States Congress. Right? You would have known what by watching that. Oh, he's about to, spark off World War III, and that's why the stock markets are collapsing. Right? They call it geopolitical risk. Right? That's a nice, way to clean it up. Meaning we're gonna start a war. They call it geopolitical risk. In other words, a way to sanitize, genocide. Right? You kill 20,000 children in Gaza and be like, oh yeah, this is some geopolitical risk. What? No, it's called genocide and war. What do you mean geopolitical risk? So that's what you're looking at. You're looking at World War III. You see, that's why those defense stocks went up. That's why the markets are crashing around the world. They're totally cratering and collapsing because they saw the writing on the wall in the Lockheed Martin stocks. They heard, they got the message behind the scenes, just like your politicians did when they went and bought Lockheed Martin stocks. They knew he was going to assassinate these people. They know what's going to happen now. You see? Now, they're not 100% sure, but it looks like Iran is going to retaliate. And of course, if there's a significant, they're telling Iran, Joe Biden says stand down. I don't know how you give stand down orders to, 5 other countries in the Middle East. Yemen, Iran, Lebanon, Gaza, Palestine, Beirut, Lebanon, Syria, et cetera, et cetera. You tell Egypt, you tell all these people to stand down. Like, I don't know who the fuck you think you are. Right? These people think they God and shit, right? He tell the whole region, y'all gotta stand down and let these people do whatever they want. I mean, let's see how that plays out. Basically, looking at the Lockheed Martin stock says it's not gonna go over well. Right? It says that they're not going to stand down. And if they don't stand down, and if there's a significant attack on, retaliation by these groups, this coalition over there, right? The Arab Israel coalition, if they decide to do a significant, say fuck it, throw carrot to the wind, jump out the window and just go ahead and attack these people in a real war, right? Not a coordinated war where you say, well, we're going to send some drones, 3 o'clock tomorrow, stuff like that, right? And we're only going to send like 50 drones, and we're going to let you shoot all the drones down, and then we're going to saber rattle and pound on our chest and say, hey, don't mess around with us. No, that's not a war. If they launch a real war, which this Lockheed Martin stock says they are going to do, then we'll see. That's where the rubber meets the road. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But the stocks, the Lockheed Martin stock, Dr. Lockheed, Dr. Martin says they're going to launch a real war in the Middle East. The stock market says they're going to launch a real war in the Middle East. So everybody's trying to get some powder dry so that they can figure out what to do when this happens. Right? They're trying to prepare, get some powder dry, because they know that if they do launch a real war, a real attack, if they ignore the Americans, they ignore the threats from Israel and America and NATO, and they do start really attacking the Israelis, then the Israelis are going to, obviously, they're waiting for an opportunity to escalate. And then they'll respond, and then you got World War III out in the open. It's not like I'm just some crazy guy saying World War III on the internet. Right? You will be experiencing World War III in America, because even if the bombs are not going off yet in Denver, Baltimore, Houston, New York, Los Angeles, Arizona, Chicago, right? You'll be feeling the stock market collapse. You'll be feeling the recession, the crash, the economic recession, the black swan events, right? Et cetera, et cetera. You'll be feeling the economic effects. You'll see oil prices skyrocket. Albeit slowly, because the recession, people are not moving around. But you'll slowly see the oil prices start to rise. And then, you'll start to experience real economic, piece of the warfare. You see? And by then, they'll say, unemployment is skyrocketing. Okay, mofo, well, we already know that. It's too late, to tell us that now. You see? And then people will figure it out. They'll be like, damn, things is really bad out here. You know, they'll start to figure it out. You know, and they'll realize it's not because of unemployment. They'll realize it's because you may be about to get, you know, missile strikes all over the place. You see? Japan may be about to get missile struck. The U.S. assets in the Middle East about to get struck with. You know what I mean? You got missiles flying everywhere. You got warships being sunk. Right? You got bases being wiped out. Right? You got escalations. You got you know, the possibility of strikes on mainland U.S. You got all this stuff going on. Then you realize, oh, this don't got a damn thing to do with unemployment. That's why. Then you figure out that's why the stock market is crashing. That's why the economy is going. Sectors are collapsing while the defense stocks are going up. Anyway, I'll leave it there.